Hey folks, um, Brother D here. This goes out to my people on Facebook, and I recently went to Facebook and watched a video. It wasn't a video, but it was a post from Tim Nichols from YouTube talking about he's reading the MEV again. Now, the first time he read the MEV, I guess he's talking about the update. I hope this is new, because the last time he read the MEV, he didn't like it. And he just said it was one of them Bibles that he wasn't going to waste his time with. He said he got to the book of Chronicles, First Chronicles or something, and he had enough, he couldn't take it no more, and he Well, this is the update. I've been talking about this since what? I've been talking about this since before Christmas. I think I started talking about this back in I forget when I started talking about it. But this here is the update, and I don't know. Well, you can't see it, but because it's smeared off, and I don't know what direction my camera's taking me because I'm using my pad. But the MEV, I love the MEV. I'm being honest, but the MEV does not replace, first of all, the New King James. The New King James, when it comes to the Textus Receptus, the New King James is still the standard. It's still better. The King James, this does not agree with the King James as well either. If you go to 2 Samuel, you'll see several differences in the MEV versus the Textus Receptus in the King James. If you go to Philippians chapter 2, you'll see a big difference. Some of the stuff that has been changed in this Bible may suit people that are not 100% Textus Receptus in Masoretic text. They might be more prone to a critical text, because there's a lot of changes in here, and they don't talk about this. I don't think they talk about it in the preface to the MEV. They don't talk about it. Like, they don't tell you that they made changes from this version, from the old version to this version. Now, in the old version, for example, and somebody corrected me about this, but you can only correct me in a critical text vein or in a modern version. You cannot correct me in a Bible that claims it comes from the Textus Receptus. The church understood, and the MEV made this, not the MEV, the CSB made this mistake. This is why it's important to leave some things alone. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. The King James, New King James, understood that the church, the old church, the founding fathers of our Bible, they understood that we use the word Lucifer in Isaiah chapter 14, not because we don't understand or because we don't take the word Lucifer seriously, or we take it too seriously, or whatever. The word Lucifer is put there to make sure that we don't get the day star mixed up with the other day star, or the shining one mixed up with the other shining one, which is who? Jesus Christ. Now, in my CSB Bible, and I love the CSB, but in my CSB Bible, it will take you from, it will cross-reference you from the king of Babylon, okay, Halil of Sychar, 14:12 Isaiah. It will take you to 2 Peter 1:19. What is 2 Peter 1:19? 2 Peter 1:19 is Jesus Christ. It's not the same shining one. It's not the same day star. This is why, if it ain't broken, don't frickin' fix it. Now, in the other MEV, it left the word Lucifer in there. Okay? Now, that might be the only major change that they made. I know in the old 2014 edition of the MEV Bible behind me, I know that they left 14:12 Isaiah the way it is. There's other places that they left that they, there's other places of scripture that are better than this version. There's some things in the old version that they didn't need to change. We all was crying out to God. We were all begging and calling the company and sending out letters and emails saying, please fix the MEV. And now that they fixed it, they fixed some things they shouldn't have fixed. They should have left them alone. They were fine the way they were. We know why we call. We know why we use Lucifer in 14:12. We know why we do that. We know why we do that. Now, the bigger issues, I will say, the bigger issues, like the issues in the modern text, like when it comes to things like, is Judah unruly against the Lord, or is Judah walking with the Lord? Well, in the MEV, Judah's walking with the Lord, and that's King James, New King James. And I'm not trying to say that the MEV has to line right up with the New King James. What I'm saying is the New King James follows the Textus Receptus and the Masoretic text better than the MEV. And so, therefore, not to make this video long, I don't really take this out of the house. I love this MEV. I love to read it. But I don't think I would take it to church with me, because when I go to church, people are reading out of the people are reading out of the New King James, or they're reading out of the King James. And I don't think I would take this to Bible studies with me, because there's a lot of things in here that are changed that didn't need to be changed, and some things that should have been changed. Just like, for example, Isaiah chapter 6. New King James got it right. All modern translations got it right. It is the train of his robe, or the hem of his robe, that filled the temple. Now, if you're reading from the King James, or you're reading from, something older than the King James, you might think that the train is a series of angels that are following him in the temple. But the MEV felt that they should change something like that. They should keep something like that, like the King James, but yet keep Philippians chapter 2, 5 on down. They should change that to what it says in the New American Standard, or what it says in, the Amplified or whatever. Okay? I really love what the MEV did to 1 John chapter 5, which I don't appreciate them putting a footnote there to let you know that, I don't think you need to put a footnote in there for 1 John chapter 5, verse 7. The one in the New King James just lets you know that some manuscripts don't contain it. But this one here is basically saying, what's it say here? I don't believe that the King James, anybody that supports the King James knows that the King James didn't add verses to the Bible. Let me see what it says here. It might not say that bad, but I love the semi-feed. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I don't take it out of the house, though. I only take my New King James out of the house. That's the only one I trust to take out of the house. Okay? And, yeah, that's the only one. I will defend the New King James. Somebody want to argue with me about the New King James, I'll give them a good argument. But, you know, I'm not going to really... Okay, 5-7, let me see. What's it say? The earliest Greek manuscripts lack. Okay. It says lack. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So that's not a fallacy. That's not a, that's not a fallacious argument. It says it lacks these verses. So, I love this MEV. There's just a few places in here that they should have left the way they were. And there's places in here that they should have changed. They should have made, because it's a modern translation. Why are we, it's a modern translation. Now, some people think that the word sojourner, it was good that the sojourner, or it was bad that they didn't translate the word sojourner. I feel that the word sojourner is different than being a stranger. When you look at the New King James and you say stranger, you mean someone that's strange. No, a sojourner is someone that has decided to join you. Okay? So everywhere when it talks about, and I appreciate the MEV for doing that. Everywhere where it talks about, like in the first 5 books of the Old Testament, where it says the word sojourner, it stays sojourner. Because there's a difference between a sojourner and a stranger. In the New King James and a lot of other modern translations, that word sojourner is translated to stranger. Well, there's a difference between a stranger and a sojourner. A sojourner is someone that is not of you, that is with you. If someone's a sojourner, that means they're not only with you, but your God is their God. That's what a sojourner is. There were sojourners that left Egypt with the children of Israel. There were sojourners that lived in the camp of Israel and followed all their laws and followed them and, intermarried with them, had children with them, and all that kind of thing. And those are the facts. Okay? It's not a stranger, it is a sojourner. When you look these words up. Okay? Now the way the New King James will use the word stranger. Okay? You still might get the right meaning because of the words that go along with the word stranger, but that's not really a stranger though. In the literal language of what that means, that is actually a sojourner. What word would be? You would need more than one word to explain what a sojourner is. So you would say something like, the stranger that has decided to be with you, or the people with you that serve your God, or something like that, because that's what a sojourner is. Okay. So, there's a lot of places in the MEV, again, where they could have left it alone. And there's places where they should have translated it. Because it is a modern translation. So, this is still an issue with the MEV where it's not going to sell the way it should. But it did correct, English errors and stuff like that. It did correct words being ran into each other and stuff like that. But as far as it, I forget what it was. It was the big one that was corrected, and it was truly corrected. I forget what it was, but it did change some things that I'm glad it changed. But a lot of things, I wish they had left it like it was. You know what I mean? So I still have my MEV Fire Bible, and I still have the very first MEV Bible that ever came out in this country. I still have my 2014 thin line, small print, hard to read, but I still like to take it around with me. MEV, but the 2024 version, it's still looking almost brand new, but I do read it a lot. I'm always going in here and referring stuff. I love to just read it. Sometimes it's the only modern translation that I read where I don't have to keep going to my New King James to see what the traditional text is. But I wouldn't take it to a debate with me. I wouldn't take it out of the house. I don't even think I would take it to church with me unless I was going to a church that was using a modern translation like, the NASB or the CSB or one of them. I would take it to a church where they are reading from a modern text. But a place where they're reading from the King James and New King James, my MEV would stay home because it's got some areas in it that should have followed the King James and it didn't. And areas where it should have followed the New King James instead of the King James, it didn't. Okay? And again, I'm not saying that I'm not comparing the New King James to the MEV and saying that the MEV should be like the New King James. That's not why we do translation. What I'm saying is we're talking about the Masoretic text, Hebrew, and we're talking about the Textus Receptus. Regardless of what you want the Bible to say, you that are somewhere between both the Textus Receptus and the critical text, regardless of what you want the Bible to say, remember that the MEV in the preface, it says that the King James is the base manuscript for this text, for this Bible. It also says that it is an update to the King James. Okay? 2 Samuel chapter 11. Was Bathsheba coming off her menstrual impurity and completing the purification before David slept with her or after? Okay? MEV got that wrong. Now, when I look at the modern translations, I can understand why I got it wrong. Because it's looking at a different text. Now, the Masoretic text says that. We already fixed that in the Masoretic text. The Masoretic text clearly says that it was when David saw her on the roof bathing. That's why he saw her naked. Because she was bathing herself from her impurity. Not after him and her had sex. And these are things that to me is a big boo-boo. Because I can't preach that in church. Oh, David and Bathsheba slept together. They cheated. And she got up like the typical slut and just washed all the gunk off of her. Okay, and then went back home and waited for her husband to arrive, which never showed up because David killed him. But I can't take that to church with me. I can't preach that in church. Everything in the Bible, I should be able to preach from the pulpit. I'm not afraid to preach anything from that New King James from the pulpit. I'm not afraid to preach anything from my KJVER from the pulpit. But the MEV, I'd have to be very selective what I'm talking about before I get up there. Just like a modern translation, I can preach certain things and that might help you understand better. But I might be able to preach certain things and that might help you. But, reading that from a modern text. But I have to be very selective. I can't just get up there and say, well, let's see what the Word of God says. I can't do that with the MEV because you don't know. You don't know if it's going to agree with the Textus Receptus in that place, or if it's going. Now, I admit, in the New Testament, it mostly agrees with the Textus Receptus. It's the Hebrew I'm having trouble with. It's the Hebrew. And a lot of people will say, even the critical text scholars and that, they will say, it's the Hebrew that's really the problem in any Bible. It's not really we have more manuscripts, they say, for the New Testament than we do the Old Testament. But again, we have text. We have the Masoretic text, and we have whatever text you're using for your modern Bibles. You don't know whether Judah was unruly or whether Judah walked with God. I mean, you don't know that. You don't. Which is it? But I want to post this video on Facebook, so I'm gonna end it there. But you out there who like the MEV the way it is, don't forget, if you want a modern Bible, if what you want is a modern translation that is derived from the critical text in the Hebreo, however you pronounce that. Okay, you have the NASB, the CSB, the Amplified, the New International Version, and they all disagree with each other. Okay, you got all those Bibles. Okay, but if you want a Bible from the Textus Receptus and the Hebrew text that the King James and New King James is using, then the MEV needs to be updated again. It needs more work. I love it. There's some places in that MEV that are like, mullah, I love it. But I can't preach that from the pulpit. I can't. Especially in the Hebrew. I just can't. Like, why didn't you just use the same text that the King James is using? Why didn't you use the Hebrew text that the King James is using? It's already fixed. We know that David killed Goliath in 2 Samuel 21:19. Why does everybody feel that it's wrong to fix that? What do you hope to accomplish by reading that there's two Goliaths, or Goliath was killed twice, or however that goes? That kind of stuff really gets to me, and I was upset when I first saw that in the modern text. Then when I saw that in the MEV, I'm like, huh? And I have another Bible behind me that's a paraphrase. It's Textus Receptus, but it has a problem again. That too with the Hebrew. And in fact, it uses the Hebrew that the modern texts use, period. Everything in the Hebrew is identical to, so when they make these Bibles, they mix, match, and play with the text. And then now what they're doing is they're saying they're mixing texts. And they're not telling you that they're mixing texts. And that disturbs me. That really, really, really bothers me. No, if we're either going to be Textus Receptus in Masoretic text, or we're going to be what we call modern text. Okay? There's not a single Bible in this house that I can read and say, well, whatever it says, except the New King James. I just can't. And there's a lot of people out there that want to update did I say New King James? Yeah, the New King James. There's a lot of people out there that want to update the New King James as well as the King James. Update it to what? Hopefully you ain't planning on updating it the way you did the MEV. No, we're going to stick with the Textus Receptus, and we're going to stick with the Masoretic text. Those are the two texts that we use. Quit playing. Quit playing, man. Stop playing with our Bible like that. And we all know that we're either one or the other. We're either Textus Receptus or we're critical text. Which is it? Which is it? Same thing with the Hebrew. We're either Masoretic text or we're the others. Which is it? And the King James has made fixings, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, you know, the Hebrew don't say that. The New Testament don't say that." This. Okay. I don't know what kind of manuscript says that Jesus told Satan, "Man shall not live by bread alone," in one place, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. In another place, he just said, "Man shall not live by bread alone." And Satan was like, "Is that it? Like, wait, man shall not live by bread alone. Okay, what's he going to live by? Oh, okay, Jesus, I need to go back to Matthew where it says, I need to go back to Matthew. You off, Jesus. You messed up on the word. What do you mean, man shall not live by bread alone? Man shall not live by bread alone what? Oh, so I need to go. You want me to go to your conversation in Matthew, Jesus, where you said, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God." Okay? We got to let the Bible make sense. It makes sense in the Textus Receptus. And it makes sense in the Hebrew that the King James is using too, which I believe is the Masoretic text. We got to let the Bible make sense, folks. We sit there and we get all excited over one place of Scripture. But it's he that hungers and thirsts. Matthew 5:6, it's he that hungers and thirsts for righteousness, not he that hungers and thirsts for justice. Now, thank God that the MEV didn't get these New Testament passages wrong, or I'd have to burn it. But I got these modern Bibles, and they say different things. NLT says, he that hungers and thirsts for justice. Since when? It's he that hungers and thirsts for righteousness that shall be filled. You got all these people on YouTube, all these pastors out there worshiping the NLT. Oh, the NLT is the best ever. It's closer to being an abomination. Even the newest update out there, now they put that in a footnote. That's always confused me. You keep updating these Bibles, but you can't fix them where they need to be fixed. You know good and well you need to put that back to he that hungers and thirsts for righteousness. Because the Living Bible that the NLT came from said righteousness. Now they want to say that the Living Bible was a heresy compared to the NLT. I beg to differ. The Living Bible did some things it shouldn't do, like put cuss words in the Bible, I will admit. But, you know, everything was there. And me and my uncle used to sit down and have cup after cup after coffee in the kitchen. He was reading from the King James, I was living from the Living Bible. If we were doing that today and I was living from the New Living Translation and he was reading from the King James, he'd be like, "Hey, can you go get a real Bible, please? Something wrong with your Bible." And there's various places in different translations where they take it upon themselves to just tamper with a certain verse to make it stand out. How's it standing out over that one word? Justice. And even though we can get the word justice out of the word righteousness, we don't get the word righteousness out of the word justice. Righteousness is the word until you translate it right. It's righteousness or right standing with God. All right, this video is getting long. I'm going to stop. I love the MEV, but again, I really can't give it the ovation, the applaud that I thought I was going to give it. I love it, but I can't applaud it like I thought I was. God bless you.